What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Sound. Today let's get started with UFC lightweight title contender Michael Chandler seems to think that fighter pay criticism is unfair. Over the last few months, the UFC and Dana White have been blasted over what they pay fighters. Names such as Jake Paul have seemingly declared war on the company to raise pay. Others, such as Anderson Silva, have blasted the UFC for a similar reason. One man who doesn't think that way is Michael Chandler. The former Bellator lightweight champion signed to the UFC in 2020 and seems happy. Through 4 fights in the octagon, he's transformed himself into one of the faces of 155 pounds. It's likely because of his good relationship status in the UFC that he doesn't see an issue with Dana White. Michael Chandler discussed UFC fighter pay on the How You Living Jay Piven podcast. While he admitted that he was paid more in Bellator, he's had many doors opened for him since joining the UFC. He also raised the point that Dana White has sacrificed a lot to run the promotion. I have been able to monetize things outside my fights. You always see guys on the microphone saying the UFC should pay more, or the media, and it's never the guys who are out there having their own YouTube channel, getting roles in movies, building fitness and wellness lifestyle programs, selling merch, doing all of the different things that we can do as fighters because we're independent contractors.
What it is, I make more money. I don't necessarily make more money on paper or in my fights, but what I've been able to do, once again, going back to the reputation, I may have been a smaller name. I may have been a guy who was overlooked. I may have been a guy who said, well, he's not that legitimate because he fights in Bellator. But one thing I always did was I kept a really good reputation. Yeah. I kept my nose clean. I stayed out of the negative headlines. I was always in the positive headlines. And then my fights spoke for themselves. I was an entertainer. So yeah, it all kind of just built this long-standing resume for when I did come over to the UFC to be the co-main event on Conor versus Poirier, almost 2 million pay-per-view buys. And then I was the main event for a world title fight. And then I was on another huge pay-per-view. The amount of eyeballs that I've been given and afforded by the UFC coincided with this great reputation of being a hard worker, being a man of integrity, being a hard-nosed fighter, being a fighter, a father, a husband, all these different things that I've just tried to be my entire career. And it just meshed perfectly. And I've been able to make a lot of money outside of the cage and have some great relationships with, you know, some great companies and some great people. Yeah, and that's why I've always been, and you know, I think I take some flack for it from fighters because I don't have a problem with the quote unquote fighter pay argument. I think people think that we should make a lot more money because the UFC makes a ton of money on their shows. Well, the UFC's been at it since 1993. Dana White has had 10,000 sleepless nights when most of us fighters are just showing up to practice and going to bed, laying our head on the pillow and getting after it and getting paid a decent wage for what we do. So for me, I have been able to monetize things outside of just my fights. And you always see guys on the microphone saying that the UFC should pay more, or the media should say the UFC should pay more. And it's never the guys who are out there having their own YouTube channel, getting roles in movies, building fitness and wellness lifestyle programs, selling merch, doing all of the different things that we can do as fighters because we are independent contractors. We can do whatever we want with our platform and our name and likeness. The UFC owns it, and they can use a picture and a video of me whenever they want. But I can sell shirts, I can sell hats, I can do whatever I want. I could be in your next movie. Right. You know, I don't know. We can do whatever we can do whatever we want. So it's kind of I always think that there's people on the lower rungs of society always throwing rocks at the people above them when it takes the same amount of energy to reach up and grab the next run to pull themselves up to get there. But that's kind of my thought process on it. And I've kind of just been a self-starter and a self-motivated kind of guy.
Second story for today: Dustin Poirier goes off on Conor McGregor and Colby Covington for disrespecting his family, specifically his wife. Here is his reaction.
I got a lot of heat for this, and maybe, you're a father, I'm a father, daughter. I don't know. I really did not like when he brought your family into the post-fight interview. That really bothered me against Masvidal. And so I just wanted to know how you felt when you heard that.
I mean, it's messed up. You don't talk about people's family, but then again, I know it's all an act and a character, but there are lines that are being crossed. You know, I think these guys do that. Same thing with Conor, like talking about my wife. These guys know, and I'll tell you, I don't give a fuck about this stuff that much no more. I've said it after I knocked Conor's ass out in Dubai. I told Daniel through the cage, I don't really care about this stuff no more. So they're trying to attach things that they know I do care about, which is my family, my daughter. more so I care about them. I will never put a pair of gloves on again if it has anything to do with them. I love them with all of my heart. Like I text you whenever I was on vacation and that stuff was happening with him. I told you, dude, I don't really play around with this stuff like that. I think they're trying to attach onto things that they know that I actually do love and would die for, and trying to pull at those strings. That's what's happening.
Is there any concern that if you did agree to this fight and it was made, that this becomes now a thing, right? Like it will now become part of the storyline and it goes down this path?
And that's what Mike Brown called me the next day and said that, DP, if you take that fight, it's going to be 2 months of that, of, them talking about your family and making this stuff up. I don't know if you want to put your family, wife and daughter through that, but I've already, hit pull, on the tweet. I can't. And Colby knows what's up. He knows what's happening in the gym. I'm not a scrap and tell kind of guy. I don't say what happened, but he knows what's happened those years in the gym. And at the same time, I do. I know he's taken me down and rid me out rounds, but he's also known a couple of times what happened to him. And it is what it is, man.